Hello and welcome. This is Octavia Brooks, and I am an intuitive relationship strategist for ambitious entrepreneurs. And today I've got a free training for you. This is pillar 3 of my 4 pillars. And today the topic is how to protect your assets and get back into scaling your business when you're in the middle of relationship challenges. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited that you're interested in this topic like I am. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to jump right in here. And so what I wanted to share with you today is all about you're in a rocky relationship. You may be in a toxic relationship, you may be in the middle of a breakup, and it's impacting your business. So if you're a business owner, you're experiencing some form of relationship stress. And I won't lie, this could be some kind of internal pressure where you feel blocked from getting something done. But in this pillar, we're going to be talking more about your concern about losing some of your assets. You may lose a relationship and a business at the same time, and we want to prevent that from happening because that's just too big of a double whammy. It's too high risk, it's too much pressure, and I want you to get through that smoothly. In the meantime, while you're going through this relationship stress, you've got some ideas to scale your business. You're a business person, you've been successful for a long time, and you want to grow, but you just feel held back because you don't know if you're going to get impacted by this relationship turmoil that you're going through right now. You're so distracted by the relationship turmoil. You sit down and try to get some work done and you can't trust your decisions. You can't focus. You're dropping bits of details that are so important to your business. You may also it's very normal to experience confidence issues when you're having trouble in your relationship because there's a lot of questions that come up. Is it me? Is it them? So that might be happening for you too. You've gone to therapy, but it hasn't helped that much. You'd really like to keep lawyers out of the picture as much as possible, or move things along quickly if you've got lawyers involved. And meanwhile, your business coach is kind of like, yeah, let me know when you got that figured out. And so you could be losing your investment in a business coaching program right now as well. What we're going to learn today, what we're going to be talking about today, I'll give an overview and context of the 4 pillars, and I'll give an overview of today's lessons as well. And what I really want to share with you is how you can rise above the relationship stress that you're in and how you can resolve the negative patterns that might have given rise to those relationship issues that you're going through. And I want you to know how to finesse your asset protection. So we're going to talk about protecting your assets before you've really made a lot of decisions about your relationship, because that's pillar 1 that helps you work through your decisions. So we want you to be able to make great decisions, not only about your relationship, but also about what you need happening in your business, and also get you back into productivity. Because ultimately, the goal is to get back into your business, get back into your business leadership, and begin return to scaling your business. That's what's fun for us entrepreneurs, right? We want to get back in the saddle and enjoy our business again. So who am I? I'm Octavia, and I've had a lot of really challenging relationships that I've recovered from and learned a lot from. I've been in business for over 20 years, 12 years in corporate, information technology, software, and 10 years in online business. So as an online business manager, managing my own business, primarily project manager. And then coupled with that, I feel like I have had 2 careers in parallel because I have a deep passion for personal growth and spiritual development, and have a lot of tools from that, including this ancient neuroscience. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later. Ancient neuroscience is the set of practices learned from indigenous tribes, which I spent 20, 30 years. That's a big part of my spiritual training, is working with those indigenous concepts and tactics and strategies and protocols. And then recently I gained my neuroscience coaching degree for modern neuroscience. So we carry our brain around with us everywhere. And I have a lot of strategies for helping you manage your emotions, become more productive, get into flow states, all of that kind of thing. So I'm really happy to be here with you sharing what I know. What is the context that this training is part of? So pillar one, we talk about, let's get clarity about what your relationship situation actually is right now and help you make good, healthy decisions from where you are right now. And in the meantime, how to be productive in your business, because this is all about kind of compartmentalizing what's going on with your relationship. Although I know right now for anyone that's got these types of challenges, compartmentalizing, that's not working very well. But we want to solve the relationship worries and get you back into productivity of your business. That's like a big theme through all of my work. Then pillar two, I mentioned earlier that when we're going through relationship challenges, we often take a confidence hit. And this is, how do you regain yourself? How do you get yourself back? Because we're in these relationships and we're just in the dynamic. We're hard to pull back and see clearly what's really happening. And who are we? Do we need to change or adapt? How do we get our confidence back? And there's several different angles on that confidence topic that I take in pillar two. And pillar three, I'll be talking about on the next slide. And pillar four is how to use modern neuroscience to achieve your peak performance and get into, consciously choose how to get into your flow state. And that's really necessary if you want to scale and grow your business. You've got to be as efficient with your time, energy, and money as possible so that your business can grow as quickly as possible. So that's the 4 pillars. And all of these free trainings are available in my Facebook group and on YouTube. So let's just talk first about what asset protection gives you. And I'm going to do, let's see, oh, somehow I skipped this one. Okay. What we're going to learn in this training today is we're going to learn how to, well, I did mention the 4 pillars, and we're going to learn how to protect your asset. Okay, so what is this? Rising above relationship stresses and resolving negative patterns. So when you're really in the thick of it with your rocky relationship, you've got a lot of different stresses going on, and you are having a lot of trouble seeing things clearly. So that's a lot about what we covered in pillar 1, but this is a little bit of a different cut on it so that you can protect your assets in that situation. How do you finesse the relationship so that before any breakup, before anything happens, you're sort of already pre-negotiating how to preserve your assets. And then we're going to have you get back into making good decisions and being productive and ultimately living into your greatest potential and working yourself towards your philanthropic legacy. Okay, I felt like I skipped something. Okay, so what does asset protection give you? In your relationship, you can clarify your level of loss, that like what are the risks really? Who is this person that you're in relationship with? Are they a predictable person? Are they unpredictable? And how do you become stronger so that you can take a leadership role so that you can actually protect your assets? And as a byproduct of this relationship domain and looking at the relationship from this angle of what you might potentially lose, you might actually just end up smoothing that whole rocky thing out and improving your relationship and get everything back on track. I mean, that would be the ultimate holy grail to sustain your relationship and bring it into like a really nice higher octave. So then you don't lose anything. What does asset protection give you in your business? It gives you the ability to move ahead because you've now gotten a predictable focus. You know what's going on with your relationship. You know what's going to happen with your assets. That gives you enough clarity in your business to like move ahead with things and keep going. Your head will clear up, and so you can make better decisions Your future is a lot clearer and brighter. And all of this clarity gives your team more respect for you as a leader. And then what do you get from scaling up your business? So I know this might seem a little bit obvious, but if you are in a relationship, scaling up your business gives you financial security to protect and provide for your family. And it also gives you time, if you scale your business correctly with proper delegation and proper time and energy management, you'll end up with time at the end of the day to enjoy your relationship. Why have a relationship at all if you can't spend the time enjoying it? So that's something else I teach my clients, is how to gain back so much efficiency in their workday that they can end their workday on time and have the pleasure of their relationship. And your business, of course, continuing to scale will continue to give you fun challenges and problems to solve while you're fulfilling your greater potential. I mean, isn't it nice to know you can keep growing as a person through your business, and you can just keep moving further and further into your greater potential? Of course, you can offer employment to other people, which is a really nice, that's such a feel-good thing to do. And ultimately, when your business is so successful, you can have charitable giving, can make that legacy of yours happen. So the first thing, we talked about this already. I don't think I need to go through this slide again. What is the overview of this slide is not in the right place. Sorry about that, y'all. So this is what we're covering today, and we already talked about it. And so let's jump right in. Okay, so step one, how do you go about resolving your relationship challenges? Well, first of all, you got to kind of figure out what kind of relationship stress are you having? Because if you're in a rocky relationship or a toxic relationship, or you're going through a breakup, or you're just going through a phase of your relationship, all of those are different levels of risk and different things going on there. So let me break this down a little bit. From the perspective of protecting your assets, if you're in a rocky relationship that's, where you're deciding whether to stay or go, then you will take a different perspective, a different strategy, if you will, to protect your assets. This is a normal person. You have had love together. You've had some time together. You know each other fairly well. Probably you can find some strategies inside yourself, rising above this. And I'm going to cover that in just a second. You can create that clarity and calm with that person and diffuse and de-escalate the situation in the rocky relationship. It might still be on the verge of a breakup, but you might be able to make it an amiable, harmonious breakup and potentially even end up being friends on the other side of it. So that's a way of protecting your assets, because they're not going to try to get you for everything you're worth. They're not trying to get revenge on you. So there's a lot of benefit to just de-escalating the rockiness of a relationship. And I'm going to jump to breakup, because if you're going through a breakup, then you might have you're going to want to pre-negotiate the breakup as much as possible. And then, so if you're in a toxic relationship, this is a completely different dynamic. And I really encourage you to identify if it's just rocky, or if it's rocky with a flavor of somebody being toxic, meaning they're unpredictable, they are controlling, they're trying to dominate, they're trying to position themselves to throw you under the bus. Those are some examples of toxic relationships. Those are it's tricky to get the upper hand in those relationships, but it can be done. You just need to learn how to predict the unpredictable. So I'm going to cover that in a second. So what is the clarity and calm that I'm referring to? Most of the time, if you're in a rocky relationship or you're going through a breakup, there's a lot of neurochemistry and biochemistry going on that's amplifying your emotional content. Rocky relationship, toxic relationship, breakups, they're notoriously dramatic, right? And that's normal to an extent. But if you wanted to rise above it, the thing about being in an emotional chaos and emotional turmoil, you can't really think that clearly. You're not really going to be able to trust your decisions, because you're not working with the better part of your brain. So this is something I teach my clients a lot about, the amygdala and the lower part of the brain that's really related to survival. And it's where all those heavy emotions live. Anything from anxiety, fear, depression, worry, all of that stuff is here, when the modern part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, is what has access to all of our wonderful capability, our wonderful problem solving, our creativity, our innovation. And so it's my big mission with my business owners to keep you in your prefrontal cortex. So you've got that, like, which part of your brain are you in thing going on with your rocky relationship. But you've also got, and that's why you get distracted, because you keep getting pulled out of your prefrontal cortex while you're at work, back into the worrying about what's going on with your relationship. And so you can't juggle the details. So in addition to this flip-flop between the less competent part of your brain and the more competent part of your brain, you've also got these neurochemistry and biochemistry going on. Because in a healthy relationship, and again, I go into this much more detail, I just want to, in pillar one, but I want to touch on it really quickly. A healthy relationship provides a lot of neurochemistry and biochemistry that's very physically healthy and mentally healthy. A supportive relationship at home makes you more successful in business, because you're going to be staying up here in the prefrontal cortex on a much higher degree of time. And so the other aspect that I want to look at here, so when you're in a rocky, let me finish that point. If you're in a rocky relationship, your biochemistry and your neurochemistry is tied into those emotions, as heavy, tumultuous, dramatic emotions. And the only way to get back in your prefrontal cortex is to calm that down. And that's a strategy I teach my clients, is how to calm down their emotions. And in pillar two, get back into their confidence, remember who they are. And from that place, you can achieve a calm. You can see clearly what's going on. But if you're in the drama of the situation, it's very difficult to see clearly what's going on and to really assess the risk level that your assets are in at that moment of turmoil. So I also want to point out here that we oftentimes bring in negative patterns into our relationships. And that comes from way back. Our life patterns are established usually in early childhood. And this is one of the things, a gift that I like to share with my clients. It's ancient neuroscience, and I promise to come back to this. Ancient neuroscience gives me the ability to time travel, basically, and go back into really key pivotal moments, usually in childhood. Sometimes it goes all the way back into a birth trauma very early on, and resolve and revise that area of your life. And I tell people the easiest parallel, it's very different, but it's parallel to hypnosis and neurolinguistic programming, but it's the indigenous version of that. It's more organic, non-denominational, but it is a spiritual adjustment to go back and revise your own personal history, bringing resources back into the past, so that that earlier part of you that has been responsible for repeating life patterns will come back to you whole, happy, healthy. It'll grow up on a completely different timeline into the present moment and give you greater capabilities than you had before. And I've seen this over, and I know it sounds kind of miraculous, but I've seen it over and over and over again with my clients. And then I come back in with the modern neuroscience to make sure that there's no backsliding on those gains that you get from the ancient neuroscience. So once you can resolve some of your own personal repeating patterns in the relationship, and you can be calm and confident, you can see that relationship for what's really happening and what's happening that you need to change, where you can improve to improve the relationship, where the relationship is stepping on you and your sovereignty and preventing you from being, having a whole, happy, healthy relationship. And so I teach my clients about these de-escalation toolkits. Most of the time we're triggered by something, and it could be a word, it could be a behavior, or somebody breaking a promise, or different kinds of, lots of things come up in rocky relationships that push our buttons. So what do you do in those moments when your buttons are getting pushed so that you can retain your calm, retain your confidence, your sense of self, and decide and respond to that situation instead of reacting? Because reacting is keeping the relationship rocky. So if you can get back into a place where you're responding by managing your emotions, by stepping back into your confidence, by owning your own crap and getting it resolved through ancient neuroscience, then it's a matter of, in the moment, remembering that emergency toolkit for de-escalating a really hot topic. So this is how you can rise above your relationship challenges. And I won't lie, it's some learning curves, and it takes a little bit of effort, but really within a month or two, people are turned around on this because they understand what's happening in the moment that it's happening. And they're like, oh, that thing that Octavia told me about is happening right now. What do I need to do again? Oh, let me pull this toolkit out. And I have a really fun client story about this. And one of my clients was in therapy for like 10 years and still struggling with anxiety and depression. And her ex is very, very toxic, and they've been going through a protracted divorce. And she wanted something, and put the legal paperwork in to have a fair and equitable balance during the divorce. And he placed a phone call and got really, he was going to get really irritated. And normally, so she predicted how he was going to act on the call, and she was, has always been very stirred up, and the anxiety and the panic just comes whenever he calls her. And this time she got her emergency toolkit out. She took a deep breath and brought herself into a place of calm and inner strength. And when she took the phone call, she didn't argue. She just called it like it is. She stayed very calm and empowered. And that was the first time she could ever remember being that way with him, especially since the divorce. And so these are the types of breakthroughs that people can have in just a month, 6 weeks or less, when they're dealing with she's in a really extreme situation, but we're navigating it, right? So the last thing I want to mention on this slide is relationship challenges between you and your business. So if you're not sure whether your business is safe, because you might have an impact, there might be an asset division related to your business, then that's going to make your relationship with your business kind of rocky too. Like you're not sure whether you can go all the way into your business or not, knowing that. So I just wanted to point out that when you're having relationship stress, it can definitely bring your relationship with your business into a challenging moment as well. All right, so let's go on to the next one. Now we're talking about finessing asset protection. Okay, so first of all, this assumption on this slide is that you've done the practices to be able to bring yourself into a peace and calm, and you have that emergency toolkit when you're feeling triggered and you want to just blah, and react all over that person. You're actually going to stay calm and choose how you want to respond. The more and more you do that, the less and less rocky your relationship will be. So let's assume that you're in a rocky relationship. Just you changing your behavior will begin to de-escalate things in the relationship a little bit more. And once you understand yourself better by resolving some of these recurring life patterns and the way that you show up, you're going to be less triggered. And that's going to start to create a calm, peaceful, like you're really leading the rocky relationship back to level ground with your own behavior and your own inner strength online. So from a place of calm and peace, you can really assess what the risks are. And then you can, the predict the unpredictable is a little bit more oriented towards the toxic types of relationships. I'm going to come back to that. With clarity and calm, even just changing the tone of voice that you normally have when you're having a heated discussion or a screaming match, maybe you don't need to have a screaming match anymore. Maybe you can just be calm, but without losing your confidence, holding your ground, speaking your truth, standing your power. So again, if this is an area for you that you want to explore further, go back to pillar 2. It's really good training on how to stay more confident. So assuming that more and more frequently the tone of the arguments or the heated discussions starts to just kind of drop down and de-escalate, that puts you in a better pre-negotiation. If it starts to become clear, our values just aren't really lined up, or I don't know if we're going to make it. I really care about you. I care about, how things go for you, but I'm just not sure we're still seeing the kind of compatibility we had in the beginning. And again, that's pillar number 1 to help you make those kinds of decisions. But if the writing's on the wall and you can start to have calm conversations, then you can basically kind of pre-negotiate how the assets are going to be divided. Okay. Now I want to go back to predict the unpredictable. So this is in the case that you have a toxic relationship with somebody who's got a mental health issue. They might be a narcissist. They might be kind of sociopathic, or maybe, like my client, a combined sociopathic narcissist. They may be actively trying to attack you. Okay, but I'm going to tell you that you've known them long enough. You've known them long enough that if you can step out of reacting, I know that's really challenging because they are masters at pushing the buttons and stabbing the knife and making you go ballistic like that. If there was a profession for that, they would be CEOs like of that profession. They are really, really good at torture. and so, however, you do have, not only is there really a lot more information about mentally ill people on the internet and how to counteract their moves. There's giant bodies of work out there where you can educate yourself about how these people operate. In addition to that, you've been with this person. You know this person. You've been around them long enough. The challenge has been you've been so wrapped up in your emotions and the biochemistry and the crazy neurotransmitters and the reactivity that you're staying down here in the lower part of your brain and your amygdala. As soon as you can achieve some calm and peace inside yourself, and you'll migrate naturally back here to the prefrontal cortex, you'll be able to sit back and evaluate, well, here's what they typically do. Here is the predictability in their unpredictability, because they're doing their best to be unpredictable, but everybody's got a subconscious that makes them a lot more predictable than they expect. And you can figure out what their predictability is. And then you can use that to counter their moves. You can anticipate their moves and you can start to counter them. And you can really, but like the bottom line here is figuring out your negotiating position vis-a-vis the other person. What do they want? If that's what what do I want? What do they want? Let's negotiate what will make us both as happy as possible. I mean, when you're breaking up a marriage, you're breaking up a business, it's really hard to feel, because you were greater than the sum of your parts and you end up with 50%. So, but maybe you can at least get the 50% that you really, really wanted. That's really important to you. Anyway, so there's a lot of strategy in this. I can't cover it all today. This is what I walk my clients through on a case-by-case basis, depending on what kind of relationship situation they've got going on. But once you come to the clarity of, here's how I can get what I want, here's how I can get the assets that I really want. Maybe you've got some verbal agreements. Maybe you're starting to settle the dust and come to an amiable type of resolution about who gets to have what. All of that starts getting you the clarity of a path forward. And our brains love predictability. Our brains really want that known. We just go actually kind of a little bit crazy from unpredictability. That's part of this dynamic. And our brains need predictability. So once you have some things settled down, calm, peaceful, a little bit of pre-negotiation, then you can start moving back into your business again. And all of this will start to give you your empowered strength, inner strength. So getting back into your business. So now we're going to kind of switch into scaling your business while you've got all this crazy crap going on at home, and be productive again and trust your decisions. So we talked a lot about moving from the lower brain back to the frontal, to the prefrontal cortex. So that's how you can get back into your business clear-headed, settling the dust at home, which will allow you to hopefully get back into some compartmentalization. Okay, I am at work now, I'm doing work things now. The stuff at home is handling itself. It's going in the right direction, and it's handled, and therefore I can go back and refocus in my business and get back into my business. Again, pillar 2 has more about this. And you can start to move ahead in the areas that you feel are secure, that you're starting to work towards security and securing your assets by de-escalating the relationship. And the writing's starting to become clear, like maybe they don't want to have anything to do with your business, or maybe they just are interested in this one little chunk of it. And that means okay, they're probably going to take that chunk of it. I will carry on scaling my business with what I know I can move ahead with. Now I want to talk about the modern neuroscience of decision-making, productivity, goals, and productivity. And I sprinkle this in throughout the 4 pillars, but pillar 4 is really where I go all out on this topic. But when you can make decisions again that you can trust, you're making them from here in the prefrontal cortex. So I want you to, when you're getting ready to make decisions, ask yourself, like, am I in a really heavy mood? Am I like caught in trauma drama? Am I caught up in anxiety, worry, depression, fear, any of those types of things? Oh no, then now is not the right time to make a decision. So you want to be able to get yourself into a higher mood. Maybe this is after you've worked out at the gym. Maybe you've read an uplifting book. Maybe you've had a conversation with a mentor or a beloved person in your friend circle, and now you're in a great mood. That is the best time for you to make good decisions about your business. That's when you're here in the prefrontal cortex. So notice your emotional state and refuse to make decisions when you're in a lower, heavier emotional state. The same goes for productivity. We're going to have a lot more productivity when we're in an elevated mood, because the elevated mood is circulating really good neurotransmitters like dopamine, reward transmitters. And I'll do a spoiler alert on pillar 4. Dopamine is we've heard about it. You know, your phone dings and you've got a little hit of dopamine. But dopamine is a savior kind of neurotransmitter for people that have a lot of heaviness going on at home, because all you need to do is pat yourself on the back for something. And I tell people, you know, when I design my 4-minute breaks every half an hour to be more productive, because I'm resting my brain for 4 minutes and I'm doing my stretches and I'm recalibrating to my purpose, my goals that I really want to achieve. I do that every half an hour. And one of the things I do is jump around like an idiot and celebrate something. I like to dance. And in that celebration, oh my God, look what I just did. Oh my God, I'm so productive. I did something great. And even if you have to make it up a little bit, like, oh, I got into my workflow. Yay, I got out of that heavy mood. Yay, took me half an hour, but I'm good now. You're squirting dopamine into your brain, and it makes you uplifted. It makes your moods in a better state, which puts you in your prefrontal cortex, which is where you have all of the problem solving at your fingertips, and your brain is really making all the connections across all the wiring inside your brain from the prefrontal cortex. So those are a little bit of just a toe dip in the water on productivity, and you can find a whole lot more of that in the other 4 pillars, okay, the other 3 pillars. Goals and predictability, really worth mentioning here. If you know enough about which assets are going to move forward that you're going to be able to scale with in your business, then you can set goals around those. And our brains love predictability. They love goals, and our brains will orient us towards goals. So you can make some near-term goals, some longer-term goals, whatever goals you feel are connected with your passion, connected with what you want to learn and how you want to grow and the directions you want to take your business in. Make some goals. I have mine right here on my computer. So you can see that I have them there for me to look at every single day. And that is, my brain is reading that and navigating me towards that direction because it likes to go towards goals. So I know goals, not everybody's a goal setter. I learned the neurochemistry of it and I'm a believer now. So that gets you towards the predictability. All right. And so fulfilling your potential is part of scaling your business, right? Because as your business grows, you have to grow. You have to become a new leader. You have to grow your leadership skills. You have to solve bigger challenges, different kinds of problems, and all of those kinds of things. So as your business scales, you are scaling as well. So how do you achieve greater goals than you ever thought possible? You can consciously adapt your brain to accomplish that. So our brains are adaptable until the last breath we take on this earth, and you can reprogram, you can consciously redesign yourself. And I cover this in pillar 2, my self-redesign process. But you can actually become who you most want to be because you're creating new neural pathways and you're creating new belief systems that sit on top of those neural pathways. When I referred back to the repeating life patterns before, those come from the childhood beliefs that we get. And most of the time, it's so awful. I don't know why humans are burdened with this, but when we're going through our childhood development, something about not having an ego state, everything that's in the environment, we take on as our own. So if our parents were arguing and we heard it, we think they're arguing about us. And if you know anything about little kids, you can watch this. You can watch them take responsibility for things that have nothing to do with them whatsoever. And it's kind of tragic. So what that little kid witnesses the argument, it gets those two, like the masculine and feminine side inside them arguing and then making them feel wrong and bad because they took responsibility for it, even though the argument had nothing to do with them. Worst case scenario, those arguments do have something to do with the kids. I work with a lot of people that grew up with very toxic childhoods. And those are some of my favorite clients because my protocols work so well for them where nothing else has ever worked. No therapy, mindset, business coaching, none of that stuff worked. And these protocols do, and very predictably. So the other thing, now, where are those belief systems that you got from childhood, where they're living? They live in your subconscious, and your subconscious is what drives and motivates you. So what you would really want is to have your subconscious lined up with where you consciously want to go. And that means that you become an unconscious competent. And your subconscious just naturally motivates you to do the stuff that you really want to do, instead of weird little self-sabotage maneuvers, instead of preventing you from getting a sale, instead of all these other things that crop up. We don't even know why, but they're in our blind spot. Our blind spot is our subconscious. So you want to reprogram your subconscious to get it more and more. And I won't say this is not an overnight technique, but it can happen more quickly with a combination of protocols that I put together. So we talked about the ancient neuroscience earlier. How does that work with reprogramming the subconscious? When I go back and travel in time and bring resources to that child that witnessed the argument and took it as a personal judgment against themselves, I go back and rework those memories. And then from that, the subconscious adjusts and changes. So then we go into some modern neuroscience strategies to really fixate that change in the brain, in the literal physical stuff of the brain, so that more and more and more your subconscious and your conscious are aligned. And I also use subliminal audios that are custom designed for my clients that repeat messages thousands of times to the subconscious. It's like whispering sweet nothings to the subconscious. And the subconscious starts to take those in as the new truth and build the pathways, and then starts operating from that. And from all of this, what used to be hard gets really easy. And I'll give a personal story about this. Oh, for years and years and years, people recommended to me social media marketing, social media market. Oh, you got to market, internet business. This is where you market. I just had the biggest resistance to it. I was just like, oh, I hate that. Oh, my brain goes crazy when I look at that. And oh my God, I can't keep up with posting that often, blah, 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 blah. After I worked enough of these protocols with myself, and I was a tricky case. If a client came to me who was like me, I'd be like, oh my God, we're gonna be working together for a while. But since I practiced all this stuff on myself, I definitely have the most efficient pathway through it. And now it's really just not that challenging. It's become a habit for me to write up little blog posts and publish regularly. You don't have to do it every day like some of the coaches tell you, but a few times a week so that people can get a feel for who you are. That all just got so much easier for me and more fun, not just easy, but fun. I've been having so much fun meeting people and expanding my network. And all of that was just beyond my concept a few years ago. Couldn't do it. Hated it. And of course, my business didn't flourish very well either. So a byproduct of doing this kind of inner work that we've been talking about is that people perceive you differently. People feel you. So I like to talk about the presence of somebody like Tony Robbins. It's not just that he's got a millionaire presence, but long before Tony was a millionaire, he did so much work on himself that you could just feel him. Now you can feel him through a video, through an audio, just a picture, and you can feel him because his energy is so strong inside. And that's what happens when you get everything lined up inside yourself. You resolve some of these childhood issues. People see you as more magnetic and more influential. They want to work for you. They want to follow your leadership. It's easier for them to understand your leadership vision for your business because you're communicating on more than just a verbal level. You're communicating it with your whole person. So that's a byproduct. And now I want to go into my favorite point on this slide, which is the benefits of having a legacy dream. So there's a lot of neuroscience benefits. So the reason I put this bullet point on here is once you start to snowball in your scaling your business and your leadership potential and your business potential, and all that starts to snowball, it's natural that you're going to start making more money than you really need to live on. We only need a certain amount in the bank. I think it's around 4 million or something like that, and you have achieved independent wealth. So for successful business people, a lot of times it doesn't take that long to get there. Well, then what do you do with all that spare money? Sure, you can give it out to family and friends. What really feels good is to have a philanthropic legacy that you really connect with. For me, it's the bees. I feel like the plight of the bees is very similar to the plight of entrepreneurs. We're the underdogs of society. The bees are the underdogs of the food chain. For me, it's my philanthropic legacy is supporting the bees. And I reinforce that to my subconscious every single day. That's one of the main reasons I want to even make money. And it pulls me forward. It's a goal that my brain fixates on. Oh, we got to get lined up to make these bee sanctuaries happen. Oh, okay, we got to. And so the brain pays attention. Oh, I got these steps, and then I'm making bee sanctuaries. Okay, so the dream of a legacy pulls you forward, and it tells the brain what you're going to be doing. It also connects you with your passion. Like if you're having a tough time in your business, or maybe you're overcoming a failure that you had recently in your business, you can let this passion pull you out of bed in the morning and go, well, it's not just about me. I've got these people to take care of. These people are counting on me. If I don't do this, I won't be able to give them what they need. And it pulls you forward. So those are just a couple of the reasons why I really encourage people to create a legacy dream, fill it in with a lot of details as well. It creates a lot of really good neurochemistry because you can think about having that accomplished and that dream coming true and everything it means for you puts you in your prefrontal cortex. It gives you all of those happy chemicals. Oh my God, my life is so amazing that I can spill over my abundance and prosperity onto those who are underprivileged. And so those are just a few of the benefits. I have a whole blog post on this. Maybe I'll put it in the comments. Okay. Let's go over the summary of what we covered today. And you know that I've been referencing the 4 pillars throughout. And today we talked about how to rise above your own relationship challenges. We talked about getting centered and clear in yourself, getting out of the emotional turmoil, managing yourself and your emotions to the point where you can diffuse, you can stay calm in a heated discussion and argument, and you can diffuse the overall temperature, the hot, heated temperature of your rocky relationship and bring it down into, let's talk about whether this is working, if it's not working, what assets do you want, what assets do I want, so we can get clarity about your assets. So that's finessing your asset protection. And if you're in a toxic relationship, how to outsmart that toxic person and come back and still get at least most of what you wanted, even from these vindictive people who most of the time don't even have a conscience guiding them. And so then we talked about trusting your decisions, how to move from the lower brain to the higher brain, where you have so much good information, access to so much capability there in the prefrontal cortex, how to make that switch and become more productive. And then lean into your leadership potential by getting your subconscious aligned with your conscious, using the ancient and modern neuroscience together to, heal your belief systems that are in your subconscious that are they're just tripping you up left and right, and you're in your blind spot. You can't even see them. You're self-sabotaging. What a hassle, right? So let's just clean all of that up and get your conscious desires aligned with your subconscious drives and motivations. Your subconscious is like the engine, your engine. And so that gives you the ability to lean into your leadership potential and lean into scaling your business with all the confidence you need, all the capabilities you need, with things getting easier that have been hard before. So that's what we covered today. And what I'd really like to ask you for is just put a little comment with what you got out of this training, what you really benefited from, what you enjoyed. And if there's a question that got left unanswered for you, please just drop me a direct message. And I have lots of other resources. I love having conversations with people, meeting with people over coffee. And I'm going to stop the share now. And I just want to say, this is Octavia, intuitive relationship strategist for ambitious entrepreneurs. And it's been such a pleasure to be with you here today. Really enjoyed it. Have a fantastic rest of your day. We'll be speaking soon.